So I hope everybody's doing well today and ready for our session of chanting, meditation, and Dharma Talk. And we will continue the commentary on the Metta Sutta, or the Buddha's teaching on universal loving kindness. Of course, we're up to the second part of the meditation aspect, and we will complete that today. And then next week, move on to the insight or wisdom part. So the fourth verse of the Universal Love Song. In other words, the Metta Sutta. Okay, so get yourself ready now to do the chanting with mindfulness, awareness, non-attachment as much as possible, conscientiousness. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoiced in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Soha. So now that your mind is more focused, you are more centered. Let's bring the mind inside the body and release the tension from the body. Starting at the bottom of the body, tips of your toes. Work your way up your legs, up your upper torso, to your shoulders, and then down to the tips of your fingers, and then back up to the top of your head. So let's take a few moments to do this. And once you've released the tension from inside the body, then just scan the body once more just to see if there's any leftover tension that you can release. As you do this, you are also releasing the tension from your mind. So now bring your focus initially to the tip of your nose, and we will follow the feeling of the breath as we breathe all the way into our lungs and then back out our nose again. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. You'll notice as you breathe in all the way into the lungs that they expand as they fill with air. And then when you breathe out, they compress. And then the air, I should mention also that the air is quite cool when you breathe in, past your throat. And then on the way out, it's quite warm as it passes your throat on the way out your nose. If you desire to do so as well, you can focus or use the extra technique of counting the breaths. One in-breath and out-breath is one, so on and so forth. But don't count past 10 because we want the breath to be the focus. If you get distracted on the way to counting to 10, then go back to 1 at that time. If you have any mental activity, mental agitation, such as thoughts or emotions, feelings, arise, don't cling to them. Don't grasp at them. Also, don't try to forcefully push them away or deny them, but simply and gently let them go naturally by replacing the mind back onto the breath. The process of meditation practice on the breath. If your mind starts to become dull and sleepy, then wake it up a bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. So let's practice like this in silence for a short while. So we can now feel very pleased with ourselves for engaging in this short session, breath meditation, as well as releasing the tension from the body before this, and also the recitation of Buddhist verses. Rejoice in your goodness, in your merits, and fill yourself with universal love and kindness. You can do this by just a feeling, or you can utilize visualization, visualizing your whole being filling with white light, or if you prefer, white nectar. You fill your whole being with this loving kindness, and now it radiates outwards also, initially to your loved ones, your family and friends, and fills them too with this loving kindness. May they be happy, free from suffering. May they be peaceful. And now also include those you may regard as strangers. Fill them also with the universal loving kindness. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Now also include those you may even regard as enemies, those people that you find irritating, frustrating. Fill them with the universal loving kindness as well, and may they be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And now we will include all other living beings around your immediate area. Radiate the loving kindness to all of these beings, whether they are born from wombs, eggs, moisture, through transformation, whether they live on the land or even under the land, or in the waters, or fly through the air. Fill them with this universal loving kindness. And now gradually, further and further, we will radiate this loving kindness out throughout your whole state or county, into all the living beings that abide here or there. As well as other states and counties throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout the whole world. Initially those that you have an affinity towards, and also those that you may be indifferent towards, and also to those that you, for whatever reason, you may have some sort of negative feelings towards. Have your loving kindness pervade this whole planet, the oceans, under the oceans, the countries, under the countries, above, below, and in all directions. May all beings be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Now radiate this loving kindness out beyond this world alone, throughout the whole solar system, and other solar systems throughout the galaxy, and other galaxies throughout the universe, and beyond, until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. and also be present here and now to recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And so, as you know, we've had commentary on the first verse related predominantly to morality, the first of the 3 higher trainings. And it goes like this. This is the work for those who are skilled and peaceful, who seek the good. May they be able and upright, honest of gentle speech and not proud. May they be content and easily supported, unburdened with their senses calmed. May they be wise and not arrogant and without desire for the possessions of others. May they do nothing mean or that the wise would reprove. And now we're on to the second and third verses, which relate predominantly to meditation or absorbing your mind with this universal loving kindness. And we've already gone through this part. May all sentient beings be happy. May they live in safety and joy. All sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born, may they all be happy. Let no one deceive or despise another being in any state. Let none by anger or hatred wish harm upon another. And we will have commentary today on this part. Just as a mother would protect, or what does it say? In order. Just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so let one cultivate a boundless love towards all sentient beings. Let one radiate this boundless love towards the entire world, above, below, and in all directions, without hindrance, without ill will, without enmity. Okay, so maybe you already understand this. If you do, then this is like a refresher, a reminder for you. If you don't know this, then listen, use your wisdom of hearing, and then use your wisdom of contemplation to think about what it is that you will hear. And then, of course, once you come to some understanding, then you absorb your mind with this. And of course, these 3 wisdom tools that I just mentioned then relate very much to what we will start talking about next week, which is the 4th verse. The part of the Metta Sutta that predominantly relates to insight or wisdom. And of course, these 3 higher trainings, morality, meditation, and wisdom, can also be known as the Eightfold Path, of which you know very well. So I won't mention any more of that now. So it says here, gives an example of a mother. Now, of course, parental love, as we've spoken about before, we had a few classes a while ago, I think maybe a year and a half ago, if my memory serves me correctly, on the 5 different types of love that we could call loving kindness too. And of course, parental love comes under one of the 4 conditioned types of love. But it is the best example that we can use in conditioned phenomena, conditioned existence. Of course, the metta, Maha Metta, the great universal loving kindness that we are learning about now and absorbing our mind with, so that it becomes more natural to do so. And then eventually our mind will be totally absorbed with this loving kindness, based on equanimity, married with compassion and empathetic joy. And of course, all of this based on wisdom. Okay, so eventually our mind will be totally absorbed with this. That is the unconditioned love. Of course, then, like I said, you have the parental love, and then you have the other ones as well, such as possessive love and romantic love, and then like a friendly love, endearing type love, which is also very good. Okay, so I think it's good to use parental love as an example here. Obviously, the Buddha did this. I think the Buddha knows very well on what to teach his students and what examples to use. Of course, he would use many different examples for the many different subjects that he would teach, depending upon who he was teaching at the time and the time, the appropriate place, and so forth. Okay, so just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, in other words, the mother would give up her own life to protect the child, the only child, especially the only daughter, the only son. I think this is quite easy to know. So just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so, let one cultivate a boundless love towards all sentient beings. So this is how we should develop this loving kindness and radiate it outwards to all living beings. This is how we should absorb our mind, to give up our biases, our lack of equanimity, of having attachment to certain beings, maybe that are kind to you, our loved ones, and so forth. That doesn't mean you don't care. In fact, you can care even more when you don't have attachment to them. And then, of course, for those beings, which are most beings that we are indifferent towards, there's a lack of care there. So we need to fill our hearts, our minds with this universal loving kindness towards these beings as well. And then, of course, those beings that we find repulsive or that we don't like for whatever reason, we need also to extend the loving kindness to them, to give up our biases, to give up our limited perspective of what's really happening and how we are all family. We are all interrelated. We have been in each other's lives before, even though we don't remember it. In fact, I've shared this with you before, but there was a student in the US years ago who wanted to know why he couldn't remember his previous lives. And so I asked him, this was a Saturday class, and I asked him what he did last Monday, and he couldn't remember. So we cannot remember so much what we just did in this body. How can we expect to remember previous lives? Of course, we probably get glimpses of it, but we don't recognize it. Okay, so if you have strong, especially strong emotions, strong feelings towards some living being, say a person or an animal or insect or anything, any living being, if you have a strong feeling of whether it's a strong attachment or a strong aversion towards, then it's pretty much guaranteed we've created this. You've created this, between you and that living being. Maybe, like I've said, half jokingly, but maybe you have been brothers and sisters who are arguing all the time over who gets the chocolate, So maybe now you've argued so much you've created the habit of arguing more. Or maybe somebody is being nasty to you. Well, maybe previous existence, maybe even this one that we don't remember. Maybe we've created those conditions by being nasty either to them or to other beings. So everything we experience in our lives and the way that we perceive others, this is conditioned. This is habitual tendencies that we have created with cause and effect and conditions themselves, okay? So we have conditioned our mind and all of the aspects of the mind. And if you want to know a little bit more about what I just mentioned there, in recent times, in the last couple of weeks, I've been reposting on Facebook the teachings on the 5 skandhas. But of course, it's very easy for you to go to the YouTube channel that has been set up for you. You say set up for me, but also for you. And then you can actually find all of these videos. And each video has the details of what the subject matter of the classes are. Okay, so you can just look at the text and then look for what subjects covered, and then you can find it quite easily. I think it's actually from last year, sometime, I think maybe March through to May last year. Okay. Okay, so just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so, let one cultivate a boundless love towards all living beings. We don't have this yet, but we can train ourselves. We can let go of our biases. We can let go of aversion to certain beings, let go of attachment to certain beings, and let go from a lack of care or consideration for many others, okay? And fill your heart with this universal loving kindness. As we do in the meditation practice, fill yourself first towards yourself and then radiate it outwards. and do this practice daily, at least once, and then you can really start to develop a mind like this. This doesn't mean that it's going to change other beings, okay? The only thing we can do is look after our own mind, really. Make sure that we have a good attitude. And as we do this with a good humor as well, then we can train our mind with joy, even if it's difficult sometimes, even if we're going through physical difficulties, mental difficulties, it's still, the practice then becomes joyful and not a burden for us. How are we doing for time? Okay, so the light isn't so good here. So anyway, even so, cultivate a boundless love towards all sentient beings. Let one radiate that boundless love towards the entire world, above, below, and in all directions. So we do this in the loving kindness meditation that we do. Go beyond just in your immediate area. Go beyond all of these different types of beings that we've spoken about in the last few weeks. Great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born, and so on and so forth. All of these different types of beings, all the ones we have attachment towards, the ones we're indifferent towards, the ones that we have aversion towards, all of these beings. Now go beyond and share this loving kindness out further and further distance-wise, above, below, in all directions, east, south, north, west, all of the directions in between, infinitely, throughout infinite space. So the Buddha mentioned this world, but go beyond this world. When he says this world, you can take it as face value, or you can take it as all throughout infinite space, wherever there are living beings, and even inanimate objects. So those living beings that we perceive as living beings or sentient beings, actually, sentient beings also include plants and things like this as well, all of nature. Okay, so throughout infinite space, animate objects, inanimate objects, just share this loving kindness and develop it beyond limit. And then you will really, really be your best friend. And if you do this, okay? We must develop this wisdom, to realize a supreme wisdom. We must be able to develop a mind of loving kindness, a mind of compassion, the bodhicitta mind, bodhicitta intention. We need to have this to create the conditions that will free our mind, clean our mind, you could say, and allow ourselves to be able to perceive the nature of reality eventually. They work together, okay? So the relative bodhicitta and the ultimate bodhicitta, the wisdom and the compassion. With compassion, of course, is love and kindness. Without hindrance, without ill will, without enmity. Hindrance, we have so many hindrances. Our mind, the two major hindrances that we have are also known as obscurations. They obscure our ability to perceive the nature of reality. And that is perception or a belief, you could say, in a self of self and a self of other, which is duality, isn't it? We think of ourself as being ultimately real. Then we think of others as being ultimately real. This gives rise then to this dualistic way of thinking. It's now all of a sudden this mouse here becomes mine. Your mouse becomes yours. Then ours, theirs. And if left unchecked, this dualistic way of thinking and then will reinforce itself and eventually lead to even fighting, arguing, even wars, things like this with beings. It's left unchecked, attachment to wanting something, aversion from not getting something, attachment to certain people, aversion from other people, and so on and so forth. We have this hindrance, these two major hindrances, but there's other types of hindrances, all of our mental afflictions, starting from the three poisons of ignorance, attachment, and aversion, on to become the 6 root afflictions: pride, arrogance, doubts, wrong views, and then all of the other secondary ones, such as jealousies and envy and so forth. And then all of the other mental afflictions. They also can be known as hindrances, and also known as 5 hindrances, or also 5 faults. When we're meditating and trying to absorb the mind with concentration or with loving kindness, is ill will, some sort of harmful intentions, some sort of attachment to sense pleasures, always blow us off our path, especially when we're practicing meditation. You know, having an agitated and worried and anxious mind, as well as the opposite, a dull mind. And then, of course, the doubts or uncertainty, always doubting your own abilities, doubting the teacher, the Buddha, doubting the methods taught by the Buddha. And so these are known as the 5 hindrances, or the 5 faults to be relinquished in meditation practice as well. So there are many different types of hindrances. You can see what they are. They hinder our progress. They obscure the path. And you could even say push us off the path. And just like the 8 worldly winds do, when we, we're wanting to gain, we don't want to lose, we want pleasure, we don't want pain, we want fame, we don't want to be blamed, we want praise, we don't want to be shamed. These 8 worldly winds or 8 worldly concerns, also known as the 4 pairs. Okay, so these are also hindrances when we have attachment and aversion, or both, or mixed with these. Okay, so try to develop this loving kindness, go beyond, purify the hindrances. Okay, even though we still have them right now, utilize your ability to practice a meditation, to absorb your mind, to go beyond it, even if it's forced in the beginning. And even if you go backwards a little bit, then go and forwards again. To use the old saying, take a step back sometimes, take a breath, 2 forward, and do it in your own time, at your own pace. It's important, but also don't become complacent. You need to continually challenge ourselves when the time is right to challenge ourselves. Okay, so without hindrance, without ill will, without enmity or unfriendliness. Amity is friendliness. So ill will, if ever you have harmful intentions, this could be even towards yourself or to others, then recognize it and purify the mind from this. Apply the purification practice. Consider and also put into practice the 4 powers of purification, of having some, recognize it, and then having some positive regret, and then have the good resolve, the strong resolve not to do it again, to create the habits of have good intentions, not harmful intentions, ill will. And then also obviously do this practice in front, or bring to mind a virtuous object such as the Buddha, and then engage in the practice itself. So that's the 4 powers of purification. If ever we have a mind that has ill will, okay? And obviously, if you have ill will, harmful intentions, how can you develop this universal loving kindness? Not possible. It's the opposite. Okay, and then of course, be free from enmity, from unfriendliness. Okay, so do this practice like this. Absorb your mind with this universal loving kindness. And you could say success is guaranteed. Sign the warranty. All right, so we've only got 1 minute and 20 odd seconds to go. So like I said, next week we'll start the next verse. Standing or walking, sitting or lying down. During all one's waking hours, may one remain mindful of this heart and this way of living that is the best in the world, unattached to speculations, views, and sense desires. With clear vision, such a person will never be reborn in the cycles of suffering. In other words, forever free and happy. But not free and happy is the opposite of unfree and unhappy. Beyond that, beyond. paramita. So I rejoice in your goodness, in your meritorious goodness, in your merits. I rejoice in your Dharma practice, as always, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Please take very good care of yourself, both mentally and physically. Study the Dharma, like I said, at your own pace, but do it to the best of your ability, as well as practice the Dharma to the best of your ability. And if at all possible, share it with others, whether that be face-to-face, whether if you're doing that, or whether it be through the internet, through writings, through your